more females working with me on the show. And I said, it's because they're all strong females. And women have to go that extra mile to get noticed.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not a matter of excluding guys.
No.
It's a matter of you're having to work twice as hard to get half the recognition, but you're taking chances. I don't think, and I don't mean this in a negative way, I just don't think guys have to take the chances that women do to get noticed.
I don't think they do either. I mean, not in this town anyway. I mean, and that's probably true across the board for any kind of work, really. I was surprised. I saw, you mentioned Think Country earlier, and there was a post on there a day or two ago. It's because CMT just announced that they're going to do
I was going to ask you about that.
equal video play, 50-50.
Yeah.
And you would think, for me, I was like, well, that's just naturally the right thing to do. That's just, of course you should do that. I mean, first of all, women are 51% of the population in the United States. So if you want to follow that, then you should be playing 51% women videos. But in country music, especially with terrestrial mainstream radio, there is this thing where they're just not playing that many women artists.
When I was coming up, I was told never play two women
back to back
because the listener won't be able to tell the difference. Really? You can't tell Reba from Kathy Mattea?
Well, and I would argue that, well, especially then, there were, and now, honestly, I would argue that the women have the more distinctive voices in country music right now.
Yeah, exactly.
I turn on the radio, I don't know typically, there are some I can pick out, and this isn't to slight anybody, I know who Luke Combs is the minute I hear a note out of his mouth. I know Eric Church the minute I hear a note out of his mouth.
Yeah.
But far and wide, that's not necessarily true of most of the male artists. I can't tell necessarily a voice from the other. Doesn't mean their song's bad, doesn't mean they're a bad artist. It's just not as distinctive to me as the females that are in the genre. So I would think you would want that distinctive thing.
Now, that 50% thing, I think, is a good thing, unless you're just going to get more of the ones we're already hearing.
Sure,
play it more frequently.
Right.
If it's truly giving a platform for new voices, excellent.
Well, and I think it's become, I'm going to go back to the Think Country post, because what surprised me, they were asking, is this really a problem, or are the female artists sort of making this up? And that didn't surprise me as much as the responses surprised me, because there was, it didn't get super nasty, but the responses really, even from other women, saying, oh, I don't like to hear women's voices. I was like, well, culturally, when did that change? Because if you look at the statistics for country music, there used to be, you go back to the 70s, there were a lot more women being played on country radio. And so it's sort of funneled down to a very small amount.
70s and 90s.
Yes.
Towards the latter part of the 90s and into the 2000s, that's when women started to dwindle.
Yeah. And so what changed? That I think fundamentally
Focus groups changed.
Interesting.
Because I think that's when radio started. I think it's...
Well, I think the demographic for country music also changed, because it used to be the adults. And now they're targeting younger girls, so they want to see young hot guys,
It's a number of things. I think when they deregulated radio, and then you had the big companies like iHeart and everything.
Conglomeration.
And then all these groups, even if they were smaller groups, they started taking music to focus groups.
Right.
And skewing the questions more to get to justify their answers.
Right.
They had the answer, they just wanted to help you get there.
Right.
And I think that's what changed it.
That's probably true. I think people also don't understand that there's a vicious cycle happening here, because a lot of the responses on that post said, well, the record labels aren't, they're not putting out a lot of female artists. So,
Trust me, the labels don't care. They're in the business of making money.
But that's just it. So if they know radio's only going to play the men, they're not going to sign the women. It doesn't matter how talented they are. which is the trick. So here are these people saying, well, there aren't any good female artists. Like, well, how would you know? Because the labels won't sign them, because they know radio won't play them, and it's just this whole thing.
You can't ever point the finger at radio.
No, absolutely not.
Or at the label and say it's your fault.
Right.
It's. I think what's on radio now? It used to be that commercials were the stuff between the songs.
Right.
Now the songs are the stuff between the commercials.
Yes.
And so it's all about the commercialization, and they will play what sells.
That's true.
End of story.
That's true. Well, and there's, like you said, the merging of radio. You have one program manager now picking the music for 30 stations.
Yeah.
And it used to be you had individual DJs on different shifts at individual radio stations playing you things they like.
Yeah.
So it was just a much more diverse thing. Part of what I like about the UK, when I go over there, there's still an element of that.
Yeah.
I can still find DJs. Yeah, it's not what it used to be either, but there's still a better chance of me finding a DJ.
The guys that are doing the block programming, an hour of country, a Saturday afternoon country, they're the ones, they're at that grassroots level playing people you've never heard of before. And now we've got, the bigger DAB stations. I think UK Country is one of them. Chris Country still does a good job of playing, and I have to say that, not only because they do, but because I'm on the area. But they do, they play people that you've never heard of.
Yeah.
But I think UK Country being a corporate entity, they are playing the top 40.
Sure.
And it's always going to be like that.
Yeah.
Now that we're let's get back on track. You want to do another song?
Yeah, sure. Here's